The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. Anyway, I saw a posting on Facebook recently. Actually, I think it was yesterday. A quote from Rosanne Cash, and I'm not looking at it right now, so I can't say it directly. But paraphrasing, she's like beating the warpath against consumers about the downloading of music, against corporations that license music and pay artists pennies on the dollar. Now, I think she's got a point on that one. I mean, it's legal, though, and you know what? As an artist, you don't have to enter those deals. You can take your stuff directly to the people. You choose to do that stuff. No one holds a gun to your head. You don't create something, and then, if they license it for pennies on the dollar, they do it with your approval. So, I mean, actually, I don't really see... I mean, the payoff is ridiculously low, but, you don't have to play the game. No one's holding a gun to your head. You have choices you can make as an artist. But, she likes to attack the end consumer as well over downloading. Now, Rosanne Cash attacking the end consumer over downloading. Now, that's an odd one because, I mean, most of the people that maybe do illegal downloading. And let's just admit, illegal downloading is actually on a huge decline right now because people don't need to do it anymore to get the music. They can stream stuff for free on YouTube and Spotify. And, on their cable TV channels, they get music channels they can flip to and get all that. There's really no need to illegally download anything because you have it all at your fingertips right now. And if you want it commercial free, it's only like $5 or $10. So this whole war against illegal downloading, it's silly. It might have had a point 5 years ago. It really doesn't have one anymore. But especially in Rosanne Cash's case, because, I mean, let's put it this way. Anybody out there downloading music, number one, they've got to be tech savvy enough to do it, and that automatically mostly leans to the younger kids out there. And they ain't downloading Rosanne Cash. Sorry, honey. 14 to early 20s ain't all logging on and downloading the 7-year itch, on LimeWire. It ain't happening, although LimeWire hasn't existed in a few years, but, they're, what I mean. Her demographic is actually a demographic that will actually pay for stuff. So, I mean, she's in one of the sweetest spots of any artist. She's here saying that, she worked 2 years on her last album. BS. It was just 2 years since she released the one before it. She may have written some songs, got some Nashville A players, and went in the studio and cranked it out. She did not spend effing 2 years on it. That's complete BS. But anyway, back to my point about her demographic. If she wants to complain about the licensing and everything, well, the people that would go out to a Rosanne Cash show are the kind of people that are going to spend $100 a ticket. They're going to go sit in a nice theater, listen to her perform. They're going to probably buy a nice meal at the place because it's probably going to be a place that will also serve them a nice meal with a couple of overpriced cocktails. I mean, that's the kind of demographic that's going to go see her. And that kind of demographic has money in their pockets. And, when they are wandering around the lobby, they're going to see a couple shirts and knickknacks and things like that. And they're actually the kind of people who will go buy a physical CD. Because, quite honestly, her demographic, by and large, doesn't really get the internet. And a CD is still like very much a current format to her crowd. So, I mean, I don't get what the F she's complaining about. And what I really think Rosanne Cash is complaining about, I I think she's just doing it to blow noise so that, people pay attention to her and realize that she still exists, so that they go, oh, look, there's Rosanne Cash. And, oh, hey, she's got a new album out. I really think that's what it's about. And I wish I wasn't that cynical, but I honestly believe that. I don't think she's any kind of a hero to anybody. I think she's just out blowing a bunch of hot air to draw attention to herself, so she can maybe move a few more units. And is it working? Is it not working? I don't know. And, I don't keep up with Rosanne Cash enough to know. But anyway, that's just my thoughts and feelings on that. I mean, she's a fine artist. I have nothing against her, or against her music. As a matter of fact, I actually haven't listened to much of her music, but it certainly got to be better than the junk that's coming over the airwaves these days. And the few things I have heard, she's a perfectly fine artist. So nothing bad about her or her music. Just this particular point of view, I am in stark disagreement with. Anyway, that's a nice segue. That's a little thing. It's not really in the news, just something I read. But I think it's a nice segue because it's time to get into the Undercountry Music News. Wow, losing your voice does some interesting things when you got to shout the Undercountry Music News, don't it? Anywho, the Undercountry Music News is where I, Neil Smith, go on to the Google, and I type into the Google. I type in the words country music news. I know it's wacky, it's crazy. I'm a madman. And whatever shows up on the front page of Google, I go onto each website that shows up on the front page of Google, and I try to see if they're reporting any real country music news or if they're just shoveling BS press releases. And a lot of times they're shoveling BS press releases, like, Keith Urban's favorite brand of ball cap. Although I don't think I've ever seen Keith Urban in a ball cap. But whatever, crap like that. And actually, this week, I decided to delve into a couple of pages of Google and give an extended little journey into the world of country music news. Now, there is one caveat here, and that is that when I go into a website that's supposed to have country music news and they don't have any, I reward said website with the dreaded Under Country Music News Wet Belch of the Week, and it sounds something like this. Well, that one wasn't a huge wet belch or anything like that, but, I went to a little thing with the chamber today called Pigs in Politics, where we barbecue and hang out with the local politicians, where people in business hang out with politicians and eat barbecue and listen to a country duo. Actually, country duo is actually pretty darn good. I have no idea what they're called, but they sang all covers, but they were still pretty darn good. I enjoyed them. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Will anybody get the wet belch this week? Somebody usually does. But then again, I've also had like month-long stretches where nobody got it. Then I have some weeks where 2 or 3 people get it. So you get it? You got it? You're up to speed here? All right, let's proceed. Over at CMT, further proof that country music is going to hell, pop stars Ariana Grande and Meghan Trainor, the one who sings all about that bass, no treble. Well, both these ladies from the world of pop will be performing on the upcoming CMA Awards. Honestly, I think viewers will have a tough time discerning the pop stars from the country stars, either way, regardless. So, heck, why not just pull a Taylor Swift and call a spade a spade? At least she's now calling herself pop. I'll give her that. All right. Taste of Country. Interesting story about Brantley Gilbert celebrating 3 years of sobriety and how Keith Urban, who is now 7 years sober, was a big personal encouragement to him. How Keith Urban came and spent hours with him in the hospital and gave him a lot of reassurances that life and his music career were going to be a whole lot more fun sober. I like stories that are real and not just pushing some BS, and I thought this one qualified as one of them. Good read over at Taste of Country. I recommend you get on over there and wrap your eyeballs around that one. And Alan Jackson has announced his 2015 25th anniversary tour called Keeping It Country. And none of the dates include Nashville, which means I guess he is keeping it country, because there ain't a whole lot of country coming out of Nashville these days. I saw Alan Jackson in concert probably about 10 years ago. Now, I like Alan Jackson, don't get me wrong. I've only seen him one time. But the night I saw him, it was like two ballads to every upbeat song, which made the show kind of a snore. And apparently I wasn't the only one that felt that way, because about halfway through the night, I could look up at the exits, and I'm sorry, but people were leaving the hall in droves. But like I said, that was my experience at one concert I saw 10 years ago. For all I know, maybe some things have been adjusted in his live show and revamped since that time. I don't know. Just reporting what I saw. And Billy Dukes, a writer over at Taste of Country, brings us the sad news that songwriter Paul Craft has died at the age of 76. He wrote songs for the Eagles, Ray Stevens, Linda Ronstadt, Alison Krauss, and Mark Chestnut. You might remember the song Drop Kick Me Jesus Through the Goalposts of Life. He wrote that. And that's just to name a few. He was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame just this past month, very shortly before he passed. Through the Goalposts of Life. For Jesus drop kicked him. You get it. All right, moving along. Also, Kix Brooks expounds on how much he likes what's going on in country music these days. How there are great artists to be admired, like Casey Musgraves or Zach Brown, and that seeing artists like Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, and Zach out there selling out stadiums is not something that was happening during the Brooks and Dunn heyday, and that this is something to be embraced. And I guess he has somewhat of a point there, especially if, some of those people that go there and start getting into that want to dig a little deeper into the world of country and really get into the roots and discover what real country music is. Now he does acknowledge the repetitiveness in the lyrical and melodic content in today's country music, thankfully. So I don't know. It is what it is. And there you go. You can read more about the opinions of Kix Brooks, if you like, over at tasteofcountry.com. And we're going to move right along on that note to Country Weekly. Jason Aldean and Bob Seger will be teaming up for an episode of CMT Crossroads. I clicked to read more, as they make you do over at Country Weekly. I sat through a really, really long pop-up ad video commercial, which is also what they do over at Country Weekly when you actually want to read anything. And after I got through the commercial, I discovered there was absolutely no more to the story, or at least not much more than just the headline once you sat through all that BS. Except that on the Crossroads episode, you can expect the two to swap stories. Well, yeah, that's kind of the premise of the show. You swap stories and you play each other's songs. Beats head on desk. All right, now this story, next story comes from John Freeman, a writer over at Country Weekly, who's reporting that Dustin Lynch was sent to the hospital October 17th after being hit in the face with a full can of beer while doing a cover of Friends in Low Places at the MULLET Festival in Niceville, Florida. not a joke. He was performing at an event called the MULLET Festival in Niceville, Florida. Now, he stopped the show, demanded to know who threw it. The audience pointed the guy out while simultaneously kicking the guy's ass. Dustin did finish the show with a cut face and then had to go to the hospital immediately after for stitches in his cheek. I feel bad for the guy, but I think everybody knows at the MULLET Festival, you play Skinner, not Garth. And writer Bob Paxman brings us a story about a Tanya Tucker exhibit entitled Strong Enough to Bend will be coming to the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville beginning November 14th and running through May 2015. All right, galloping along to GAC. The CMA Vocal Duo of the Year, Swon Brothers, have released their debut album. Vocal Duo of the Year when they haven't even cut their first release? Really? Anyway, you can see a video of them with terrible sound quality. That's not their fault. That's just it was posted with terrible sound quality. Not their performing. They're performing their new single, Pray For You, on the Today Show. I had to listen to it. Not the worst thing I've ever heard. It's not riddled with too many cliches, but honestly, there's nothing that really stood out to me about this song. And honestly, there's nothing that really stands out to me about this act in general. It's just a polished pretty boy country act with milquetoast, middle of the road lyrics that don't really say anything about anything. And I'm sorry, it's boring. I listened to the song and it didn't suck. It was just like, it's like something you could listen to while shopping. And on that note, we're going to sort of scoot our little shopping cart with that one wheel that just won't go straight over to NashvilleGab.com. They've actually got some good stuff this week. Got to hand it to them. Reba McEntire has signed with a new joint venture label called Nash Icon Music, which is a part of Big Machine Records, home of Taylor Swift and Tim McGraw and Cumulus. It's actually a joint venture between Cumulus and Big Machine Records. Now, Reba is currently in the studio with her longtime producer, Tony Brown, and who is also collaborating for the first time with producer James Stroud. So two big name producers working on the new Reba. I hope they come up with something good. Right. Also over at Nashville Gab, and this makes two stories I had not seen from anybody else up to this point, which makes me say nicely done, Nashville Gab, which is not something I get to say very often. The original Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider and Tom Wopat, are releasing a Christmas album this year to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Dukes of Hazzard. The album is entitled Home for Christmas. Yeah, not a very original title. It's a mixture of jazz and country Christmas songs. You know what? As a Dukes of Hazzard fan, when I think about the Dukes, I got to tell you, the last thing I want to hear coming out of the Dukes is jazz. I mean, I hate to be a closed-minded guy. I like jazz. It's enjoyable. Jazz is some of the greatest music in the world. And I'm not saying that sarcastically, but if I go to buy something that's the guys from Dukes of Hazzard, do you think I'm really looking for a jazz record, or do you think I want a country record? You know, I want to picture Bo and Luke Duke, gathered around the still with the General Lee parked right there, and a couple hot girlfriends with their guitars out and strumming some country music. But, that's just me. Now, the article does go on to state that there is a preview of the song from that album, Cool Yule, which they have made available online, but it fails to say where or provide a link to where we can hear the preview to this song. Well, I found a small snippet of this song on, of all places, Kickstarter. Apparently, they're raising funds to cut the rest of this album, or at least they were at one point. But there's a video of them over there, and it's just like a 5-second snippet of the song, and it's a jazz number. Why they're putting that out up front, I don't know. I'm thinking they're stupid. And then the rest is them talking about the album and the recording and things like that. And I got to tell you, these guys are so freaking old now. I barely recognized either one of them. Just looked like a couple of really old guys there. And, well, that's not a dig on them. It just is what it is. And, well, anyway, there you go. Just do a little Google search for Dukes of Hazzard, Cool Yule, and it'll come up. You'll find it. Now, over at the 615, which is a subsection of Billboard.com, which is dedicated to the music coming out of Nashville, Ray Stevens is talking about his new book, Ray Stevens, Nashville. He talks about his childhood, his early friends like Jerry Reed and Chet Atkins, how his hit song, Ahab the Arab, was a last-minute addition to an album session, and how he recorded the song Sunday Morning Coming Down a year before Johnny Cash. In addition to his new book, Ray Stevens has also just released a 12-song gospel collection and says he actually recorded 24 songs. If Volume 1 does decently enough in the sales, he plans to release the other 12 songs, which apparently weren't good enough to make the first release, as Volume 2. Hey, why not? And Glenn Campbell's swan song, I'm Not Gonna Miss You, has debuted on Billboard's Hot Country chart at number 50, which is the first time Glenn Campbell has charted in 21 years. His last appearance on the charts was in 1993 with his song Somebody Like That. All right, going to kick it to the boot now, theboot.com. New videos from the Rankin twins and also Kimberly Dunn. Well, there's one video from the Rankin twins, and then there's a complete SoundCloud playlist of new songs from Kimberly Dunn that you can flip through. And the Rankin twins song and all of the Kimberly Dunn songs that I listened to, and I checked out like 6 of them or something like that. Every last one of them were love and relationship songs. Nothing wrong with love, nothing wrong with relationships, but I mean, damn, get another subject matter already. I'm sorry, I was instantly bored, completely bored. Although I will say Kimberly Dunn had some upbeat music, and I did like the music behind her. It was upbeat, toe tapping, great, just the subject matter of every damn song was love and relationships. Find something else to write about, okay? It's been done. It's done. Move along, people. All right? All right, moving along to Rolling Stone Country. There's a great article over there about the state of today's bluegrass music, the new artists in the genre, and where they think it's all headed. A real interesting read with thoughts from Ricky Skaggs, Jerry Douglas, and more. I didn't find much more interesting over at Rolling Stone Country, but this article alone is worth the trip. So get on over there and to rollingstone.com/country. And rounding up our undercountry music news this week, Country Standard Time reports that Toby Keith has released his new song, Drunk Americans. I listened to about half of this song. It's a beer mug raisin sing-along, redneck, let's all get together and drink beer, everyone, regardless of faith, creed, or color. Kind of a big kumbaya, kind of a, alcoholic kumbaya, maybe. I mean, it's all right, I guess. He didn't really go out on any songwriting limbs here. I don't really think the world needs another drinking song, but I've been wrong about that one before. I will, however, be interested to see where the other tracks on Toby Keith's new album take us, because Toby Keith usually has at least something good up his sleeve with every release, and I have no reason to doubt that this release will be any different, and I look forward to unpackaging the gift he has for us. And this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts. Get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. Stay under, stay country.